paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Beaver Dam Unified School District, not WBEV, ESPN, or Good Karma Brands.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Taking Care of Business. Let's talk with Beaver Dam Unified School District Superintendent Mark DiStefano is with us here today. I am Wade Bates on Daily Dodge TV and 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam sister station 95.3 WBEV. Do you like how I saved that, Mark?
Yeah, that was nice. That was good. That was good.
It was.
Good.
If you
Have
are
you
watching
done this before,
if you are watching on Daily Dodge TV, you can subscribe. Hit the like button and subscribe every time we go live with anything. You will hear. You'll get a notification, and you can dial us in, whether it be on your Roku, your YouTube app, and your phone, and you can watch live.
do we keep track of like records? Like, are we setting like records with this show?
Everybody should subscribe right now to Daily Dodge TV, and well, you're on once a month, Mark, and a lot of stuff going on in the Beaver Dam Unified School District here as we speak this year right now.
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
both in the buildings and outside the buildings.
Yeah, very, very busy time. A lot of awesome things going on. Really an exciting part of the year when you think about fall and where we're at, and it was a great start to the school year. But now we're actually approaching the end of the first term, which comes in early November, and that means that our parents are meeting with teachers directly. We started parent-teacher conferences, kind of kicked off about a week ago at the secondary level, and now this week and next week at the elementary level, we'll have parent-teacher conferences. And I will say, our participation from our parents, particularly at the elementary level for parent-teacher conferences, is outstanding. Usually each school is right around 95% engagement with parents. So that's a huge part of the puzzle of success for kids is that engagement. So it's a busy time, but it's awesome.
I made my first appearance at parent-teacher conferences since third grade. Well, I've always done stuff. I also do stuff at night. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and I was getting the stink eye from my wife because then finally I was free on Monday night, the Monday night of parent-teacher conferences.
Sure.
I enjoyed roaming the halls of the high school, talking to various different teachers about. I have 3 kids at the high school right now, and was able to walk a few laps, and I did get lost at the place. I think though.
Wandering Wade 2.0
it
at
was.
parent-teacher conferences.
No, it was, but it was good because and. It was a very positive experience. I mean, like I said, great feedback from teachers. You can ask questions, and it was fun just to see everybody out there and get to kind of get the firsthand. I get the emails every week from a lot of teachers that give you your progress reports. You see it on paper, but when you actually get to talk with somebody, and again, take the advantage of it.
It's really important. It's really important that partnership, that connection, that engagement between the home and the school is really important. And the most fruit is born from that engagement between the parent and the teachers. So really appreciate that. Teachers, the work that they do. Shout out to our PTOs at the elementary. Mm-hmm. They do a great job of helping take care of the teachers on these very long days because they wind up putting in a 13-hour day on parent-teacher conference nights, those kinds of things. So that's going on. I think it was last weekend, maybe it was the weekend before. Time has been flying, but we had the LOUB banquet. That's Leadership Opportunities Unlimited banquet that run through our FFA, and winds up being kind of the showcase and a fundraiser for some of the different activities that they engage in. But that was held at the high school. Outstanding attendance, really, really good attendance. So a lot of different items people could raffle or bid on, things like that. So that was awesome. Hats off to the FFA, and really want to extend appreciation to everybody who participated and who took time out of their day to come to that particular event. And then a couple other kids in particular I wanted to recognize. One, Max Lutke, and he's obviously a leader in our FFA as well, for those of you that are aware, but he's going to be our student board rep this year. So our school board, about 4 years ago, partook in an endeavor to make sure that we had an opportunity to engage more directly students in the governance and the insight of our school district. So this year, that student board representative will be Max Lutke, and just went through orientation with him a few days ago, and our board president. So really excited for that. So he's going to be at his first board business meeting this October. And if folks haven't had a chance to watch one of the board meetings or attend, at every board meeting, not only does a student board rep have the opportunity to engage, ask questions, offer context, but they have a carved out spot on the agenda where they provide a report and an update on kind of student life. And it's geared a little bit more secondary, but these student board reps are outstanding. They get feedback from all the different schools. So that's a big lift, and really, really pleased that he put his name in the hat for that.
He's one of those guys where if I have questions about FFA or some other things at the school, I have him on speed dial.
Yeah.
I do an FFA spotlight feature. The first guy I texted was Max. He's like, I'm going to lunch.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, when can I do it? He goes, I'll skip lunch to,
Sure.
and he did like a 5-minute interview with me on the FFA. Speaking of the FFA, they do have a sale going on right now if anybody's interested. Cheeses, I think meats and like nuts. See your favorite FFA member at the high school in the ag department, and you can buy some. Aiden Voigt has them sitting out front, Mark.
Does he?
If you
All
haven't
right.
bought yours yet, you can buy some from Aiden
Sure.
at the desk at the.
I'll just buy more.
At the
I'll buy
radio
more.
station.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, I have the rule. You probably do it too. First person that comes to me for some of the stuff, I'll always buy. The next 15, I'm like, so I gave it the office.
Yeah, I feel badly turning some people down, but you can only buy from 1 or 2 for each endeavor. So.
But it's always a great thing that the FFA does, and we're doing some FFA spotlights and 4-H spotlights this month, and it's kind of cool to see some of the great things that the Beaver Dam High School students are doing.
Oh, it's awesome! It's awesome. Just heard your interviewer spotlight with Cole Hemling, and I had a chance at the fair, a couple months ago to see some of the poultry show, and I actually walked into the poultry barn, and they were doing the rooster contest with the birds. So that was pretty awesome. I walked in, I didn't know what was happening. Everybody's standing around these roosters, and nothing. They weren't weren't crowing.
I won a WBA award with an interview I did with Owen Hemling with his rooster. Is it roosting? What are they doing in the back when it's doing its thing in the background? And I think that's the only reason I won was because, number one, Owen's great interview, but also with the way the rooster just the whole time in the background.
Nice.
And again, a lot of cool things in the ag department.
Actually, I just made a note. That's the first time that you did a cockle-doodle-doo during this radio show. So if we could maybe make
every time
a tradition. Yeah, you guys have other traditions. I hear you on the covering the football games. Different words.
Call me the Red Rooster.
And then, of course, McKenna Nelson. Wow. I mean, what an awesome thing for her and for us to be able to celebrate on behalf of her and everybody, the golf team. And I know she had a lot of support there, and her parents and a lot of people in Beaver Dam. But she just a top-notch student athlete, and that we always emphasize that, right? Student first, then athlete, but student athlete, and what she was able to accomplish and the support. And really, what was neat is, not only did she do what she did, and you guys covered that really, really well, but it was really nice to see the parade, we call it a hallway parade that they held for her at the high school, and to see all the kids out in the hallways throughout the whole building, cheering her on, the band's playing the fight song, walking through. I mean, just really, really awesome experience. And just a wonderful reflection of our community. So hats off to her and everybody involved.
I was going to mention too, she will be a guest on the Dam Sports Show this afternoon at 4:30 with Corey and Wally on.
They're going to be geeking out.
ESPN Beaver Dam. No, and incidentally, there's going to be something else that's going to be talked about on there. I'm not going to spill the beans on it, but you need to listen because there's going to be it's going to be a fun time there. And also the passion that people had for this last couple of days. I got a call from the WIAA last night. Beaver Dam or Daily Dodge was the second largest portal for links through to the WIAA in the last 2 days. We're talking about people that funnel in from all over, some sites that get millions and millions of hits. With sports is number one, obviously. And he goes, Daily Dodge all of a sudden popped up. And I'm like, that's because people are interested in McKenna. And we had a link through to her scorecard on our website. And how many times did people hit refresh, I think, on Tuesday
There were a lot of people
right?
sitting there. People might have been doing that in a meeting. I'm not quite sure. But,
allegedly,
I heard a rumor.
Yeah, so again, it's really cool to see positive stories coming out reflecting Beaver Dam. And, McKenna, represents our community in the high school just, a top-notch way.
Yep, it was awesome. So a couple other things just to highlight before we dive into our School of the Month. But on the activity side, the marching band, I think, did a great job with Wicked and their performances this year. They had their kind of sunset performance, if you will, just this past week at the home game. And I thought it was really nice that, the seniors were honored as well. And I think it's really nice that we're including them well in the coverage of the actual sporting event. because it really is kind of a showcase piece and entity of what's happening there.
Yeah.
So hats off to our marching band and everything that they've done. Fall musical's coming up. I know you're very familiar with that, so that's exciting. Les Mis, which would be a really nice program. And then people are familiar. Obviously, football teams having a great season. That's just good and positive for camaraderie, community connectedness. It's always nice when there's some success there. Our attendance, and I know you've probably witnessed it firsthand, particularly obviously at our home events. It's been spectacular.
Yeah, there at one point, one of the games this year, we had people wrapped all the way around the side of the fencing because the bleachers were just packed.
Yeah, just unbelievable, the amount of attendance and support in our community. So we're very grateful for that. And I know our students are. That really means a lot to them. So are our coaches. But they have a wonderful opportunity tomorrow. So they get to go play in a field that I had the opportunity to visit several times in my younger years. So hopefully they have a great game, and they'll head to Port and see if they can't seal the deal.
1983. What were you doing, Mark?
You know,
10 years
I was probably creating stress for my parents, and I wasn't very focused. But yeah, it was a very, very long time ago. So I hope it all goes well. I know if they play their game and stay focused, I'm very, very confident in what they'll accomplish. And and all the other fall activities. So just really pleased with the level of engagement at all levels. I mean, we see it most directly with the schools, obviously middle and high school, but participation numbers are very solid, and students being involved. It's been a really good thing.
Yeah, Monday night I was at the fall concert was there as well, between the choirs and the orchestra performed. It was basically a full house as well at the PAC, and you mentioned Les Mis. Tickets will go on sale for that, I think, pretty soon here.
Yep.
I talked to Mark Lefebvre. They've got 2 hours on Hometown Today booked coming up in the next couple of weeks to bring in and really break down that show.
They'll do a great job. Neat show, great story too. I know some people are very familiar with it, but
Les Mis is one of those. I've told a few people. I was actually doing some work for a university that they used to be in theater, and I said, hey, they're doing Les Mis at Beaver Dam. They're like, really? They go, that's a really, really hard show to do, and it's been a big challenge that the students and Mr. Lefebvre and his staff have all taken on, and they're going to do a great job. And that's a high-end show that some schools won't even attempt to do it.
Yeah, it is. It's a complicated show. I think they'll do a great job. Put a lot of time in. They started early, obviously,
the summer,
engaging people right away. And then the storyline, what it's about. I think very, very fitting, very neat. You think about the story of him taking it. It all starts with him trying to steal bread, right, for his starving sister, and then goes from there. But anyway, it'll be a great show. So when you get a chance, come out and support it.
Sing Master of the House for me right now. A couple bars, Mark.
Nope.
No, got to move on.
Not a chance.
Okay,
not a chance. So
on.
hey, all right. So School of the Month, Washington Elementary School. So go Bulldogs. I don't know what just happened, but you're panning about with.
I'm in charge of the camera now.
Yeah. So
School of the Month is the Bulldogs.
Washington Elementary, and Washington Elementary. It's a very fitting month for them to be the School of the Month for a couple of reasons. I'll explain that in just a minute. But really pleased with Washington Elementary. In the past few years, really, they have every year they've taken a step. They were doing well in many respects prior to that, but Paul Wilson's a principal there, has been there for a few years, and every year that staff and working with Paul and the students and the families have really taken a nice step, and I think people will see that's reflected yet again this year when the report cards officially come out. But really, really impressed with Washington Elementary, and Washington Elementary is part of this transition right now, right? So they're going to be welcoming in the Wilson Elementary families next year, and Washington will become a full comprehensive 3-section elementary school. But even this year was kind of step one of that of effort, in that we didn't bring a new kindergarten class into Wilson. They started at Washington because we knew they were all going to be there, obviously, next year. And we also had some other students at other grade levels who made that transition. It made sense for them. So Washington this year has 35 more students than it did last year. So they're right around 260, and the transition's gone great. The teachers are gelling for some of the staff that have already come together, and it's going to be a really, really positive thing. And we've seen that success with other transitions when we've made that. We've gone from those 2 sections to those 3-section elementaries. and it's going to be really, really good and successful. And that's because of who Washington Elementary is, and they're really committed to that work.
Oh, good stuff at Washington again, and they do great teachers.
Do you notice the leaves are falling?
I know. I do notice the leaves are falling.
So something really cool. They're really, really big on leadership development at Washington Elementary. It's something that they do, and they've got really engaged leadership programs and efforts for their students. And most of our elementaries, well, all of them really have some type of leadership component, council, etc. But Washington does a great job of doing that, and they do other outreach efforts. And one of the things that they've done there in the past and are continuing to do this year is they do a fall cleanup, and they go throughout the neighborhood. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders actually do like fall cleanup leaves and whatnot. They keep the 3rd graders a little closer. Obviously, they're all supervised, and families help bring in rakes, yada yada. But it's a really neat experience. They're giving back. A lot of times, it winds up obviously being supporting senior citizens, etc. But that's something that they started as a tradition. That tradition continues. So I know that there's some people that have Paul Wilson and the Washington Elementary Bulldogs on their short list of calls to see if they're doing it in the fall. But I talked with Paul before this program, and he really wanted me to reiterate that if there's other people, if you live anywhere within that Washington Wilson area, we'll call it the I guess we'll call it the east, the west side of the city or east side of the lake. But if there's an interest, reach out to him, because if they have slots or times, they'd love to do that. And kids absolutely love it. It's very fulfilling for them. And they're not forced to do this. They want to do this. This is really exciting for them to do and to give back. And it's part of that fabric of that kind of that character value element that we're trying to help cultivate in our kids. So don't hesitate to call Washington. Ask to talk to the principal Wilson, Paul Wilson, and he'd love to talk with you. And if he can add you to the slate, we love doing that. The kids absolutely love it.
We're talking with Beaver Dam Unified School District Superintendent Mark DiStefano on Daily Dodge TV and 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. Appreciate you joining us here today. Lots going on. He mentioned in the schools, and also, Mark, obviously a couple weeks, 3 weeks off until about Election Day and such, and obviously there's a tie to the school district here.
Yeah, 19 days, Wade.
19 days to the election.
There's an election, and there is a referendum on the ballot. There is a referendum on the ballot, and make sure you flip the ballot over.
So it's on the second side. Sometimes people forget about that. Yes.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's big and obvious on the bottom. It says flip over, second side. But anyway, people are going to be excited to vote, which is awesome. We want everybody voting, but make sure you flip it over. But yeah, we have a referendum on the ballot. It's a facilities referendum. And we're asking for the community support to really do 3 things, and that is, one is build a new middle school. The other is provide us with the resources so that we can comprehensively renovate and update Washington Elementary School. And then we are also asking, it's all part of one question, but there's also money tied to improving site safety and security around our buildings. Improving playgrounds at all of our elementary schools, and then addressing ADA access issues at all of our campuses. So it's a huge opportunity for our community. It's a very, very significant need. We just can't, we cannot continue to maintain the current middle school. The only way to do that, and essentially we wouldn't get ahead, would be to go to referendum anyway, and we know that would be kind of pouring good money after bad, because we'd still have to replace it in the not too distant future anyway. So we know that this is a significant lift, but we also know that our community really has a tradition of thinking forward and being very, very giving and supportive of children and their futures. And we're hoping that that our folks here take a thoughtful reflection and care and concern for the decision that they make, and we certainly respect and honor everybody's opinions, but we're really hopeful that they think very thoughtfully and carefully about that decision that they're going to make on Tuesday, November 5th.
It's one of those things too, where when it comes to going to referendums, the district, I mean, you've got, this is like a facilities type of thing, right? Our district hasn't gone to referendum because there are a lot of places that go just for straight fundage, just operational referendums.
Correct.
Have we done that in Beaver Dam?
No, not. I mean, if it happened, it would have had to been 30, 40, 50
Okay.
years ago. Definitely not any time in the recent past. We have no debt or tax burden associated with that on our roles, and we've really tried to be the best stewards we can of making sure that we're investing in our students and our staff, and then obviously taking care of our facilities. So we have not, and right now it's about 75% of school districts in the entire state of Wisconsin have had to do that, and that's not a slam on them. That's everybody's recipe, everybody's realities look a little bit different, but we've been very deliberate about not taking. I don't want to call it. It's not an easy way out, but we have done everything we can to not have to do that. This coming ballot, November 5th, is historic across the state because of the amount of school districts that will be going for operational referendums as well. Now, there's a number of facilities referendum across the state also, but after this election, it's probably going to be close to 85% of all school districts in the state of Wisconsin will be on around some type of operational referendum to help support their operational budget, and that's not what we're asking for. What we really believe is, one, we've been good stewards. We've been able to make the investments that we want to invest, and that if we get the support to address really facility needs that are true needs, if we get the support to do that, then we believe that we can stave off this operational demand that we're seeing across the state. But unfortunately, if we're not able to garner the support of the community on November 5th, it's going to put us in a tough situation because none of these other needs are going to go away. And then on top of those other needs not going away, the burden just continues to grow. And then that puts districts in a position too that maybe they're going to have to go down some of those roads that we're really trying not to have to do.
Yeah, Mark, now if people have been to various events, I know on the website, are the renderings and such available online on the websites
Yes.
as well?
Yeah.
And bdusd.org.
bdusd.org. There's a landing spot right on the main page when you hit. There's kind of this scrolling banner right in the center front. You can click on that for more information. There's conceptual renderings of what Washington would look like after the addition and some of the renovations, what a new middle school could look like on that site. There's also some other references that help orient people because there continue to be questions, about the site, and there's a lot of forward thinking, some vision associated with the development there. And there's been some questions and really great questions about how that site and how it's going to work.
Sure, Mark. Obviously, I mentioned I have 3 kids that have gone through the middle school. It's 100. Besides being 100 years old, obviously, being that old and getting around that place, just what advantages is it for the learning of the students if you would get to a more updated space when it comes to compared to where the middle school's at right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the site I'm going to go back one step, and then we'll touch on that. I think there's no doubt that the current location, Center City, offers some really nice conveniences from a proximity standpoint. But that very same location, Center City, also offers a number of safety challenges, significant safety challenges. And there's also some significant limitations relative to programming and opportunities for our students. And we can't grow there. We can't truly renovate, update, do what we would want to be able to do on behalf of students at that particular site. So as we look at another site which puts things on the south side of the city, that site allows us to build a new middle school, which we need. Okay, we need a new facility, so that really it's right sized and right designed for middle school students. We've never had a middle school. We never have a building that was actually built for middle school students in our community at any point in time in our history. The middle school was a hand-me-down high school, and there's nothing wrong with that. That was good stewardship of that resource and those finances when our community built our current high school in the 50s. Was the first section of it was built. That made sense that became used by, at that time they called it a junior high. But we're at a point where things have changed so much. The realities have changed so much for students, and now just even something as simple as instructional space. We don't have the space in our math classrooms, English classrooms, to have the number of students that we should have in there in a way that's comfortable and appropriate for learning to take place effectively. We don't have appropriate daylight in all of our buildings. We don't have, or all of our classrooms. We don't have HVAC. We don't have, art spaces, music spaces. We don't have the ability to offer a quality ag program or agri-science program in our middle school in the heart of an agrarian community and agribusiness. And it's not just about farming, it's about agribusiness. Agribusiness drives the entire state of Wisconsin. And we don't have the ability to offer those types of things in person to kids, let alone the resources to be able to go out and play somewhere, or have a designated spot for lunch for kids to eat, or a common space. They're using an auxiliary gym and going upstairs to a parking lot, those types of things. So a new space provides an opportunity to have all of those things. And what it also does is it sets us up for our future as it relates to these other spaces and investments that will need to be made down the road. Another 20 years from now, there's going to be other opportunities. And we want our community to be in a spot, and the future leaders and families to be in a spot where that next generation has the opportunity to build maybe a new elementary school when debt falls off. Maybe they can do that. And in another 50 years, they're going to be building another high school. But in order to do that and not create this confluence of burden, we have to, when able along that journey, make the investments. And that's what we're hoping that we're able to do now. And again, from a timeline standpoint, we're going to continue to maintain that middle school for at least 3 more years, because this isn't let's say we're fortunate enough to have the community support on behalf of our children on November 5th. Well, that means that we're 3 years out from moving in to a new middle school. So we'll continue to maintain, we'll continue to use that space. So every decision we make now pushes an improved reality. It's 3 years from that to the point that we're going to actualize that. And the exciting thing is, on the Washington end, we're teeing some things up in the background. We're going to start to make some of those improvements this summer. So we're really, really hopeful, that we have the community support. And really, we just want people to be thoughtful and reflective. And I've really been impressed with people's willingness to have face-to-face conversations and ask really good questions. We've had people come to the listening sessions, learning sessions, visits, tours, etc. And they've come with really good questions. They're not, the people showing up aren't just automatic yes people. These are people that they have real questions, real concerns, whether it be location related, whether it be about what does that tax impact look like over time, etc. And we really appreciate that. It's been awesome.
What are some of the other questions that people have been asking you that that you've had to answer, that you've heard more than one time, multiple times?
Yeah. So I think generally the location, just understanding where it is. And one of the things, we're going to be putting a couple of banners up. There was corn basically where the school would be built. So the corn just came off this week. So I think it was earlier this week. So we're going to be putting a couple banners up. They're not going to be huge. We're not spending thousands of dollars on banners, but we're going to put a couple of maybe park a vehicle there or something so people can just see it. But just to reiterate, it's just south of Jefferson, just south of Judson Drive, adjacent to Lombardi. That's south side of Spring Street, right as it transitions to G. That's the location, and the school would be built on a hill. So anyway, that's the location. And then with that comes the transportation question. A lot of questions about transportation. How are our students going to get there? And I think something really important to reiterate is all schools in the state of Wisconsin have an obligation to provide transportation for students that are outside a 2-mile radius. And we've done that. That's how we do business. So as the location of the school would change, then that would mean, yes, we would be providing more bus transportation to students, particularly on the north side of our city. And that's just something we would do. It's not overly complicated to do that. We don't know exactly how many additional bus routes we would need. It could be as little as 0, and it could be as many as 3 new routes. But we currently have multiple routes coming from the north end of our rural boundaries and east end of our rural boundaries that have plenty of room to pick up students along the way. So transportation isn't going to be a barrier. We could argue that for students on the south side, it's probably going to make their walk shorter. And students on the north side are going to have access to bus transportation, which is a value add for students, particularly during inclement weather times or otherwise. So I don't see it as a barrier. It's different. I think change is hard.
The change curve. I learned about that when I came to Good Karma Brands.
Yeah,
it's actually a real thing.
Yeah, I think so, and it will work out. The other piece is, people will say, and they're absolutely right. They're like, "There's no sidewalks there." Mm-hmm. Yes, that's very, very true. There will be sidewalks there. So, but we obviously we're not going to put sidewalks in without having somewhere for the sidewalks to go to. So we would have likely a minimum of 2 different sidewalk entrance points coming in for pedestrian and bicycle traffic. One would be along that slice of Spring Street that would come down in onto the property, and then another one would be off of Lombardi. So where there aren't sidewalks, there would be, and that's part of this planning process. So if the community supports this effort, then what happens is, through the design and planning phase, we have to go through vetting not only through the city but the state. And there are expectations when you develop a school that there's going to be certain types of access. So and those are figured into the numbers, and that would be part of that we would be bringing sidewalk in from multiple spots for those students to be able to walk to.
Beaver Dam Unified School District Superintendent Mark DeStefano. When people look at those renderings, are those renderings the outside pretty close, or if it passes, you firm things up. If the voters vote yes and approve, then you kind of get more nuts and bolts, like the renderings and such, and then you really get into the design.
Exactly. I think so. If you look at the Washington renderings, just because that's a small addition, some renovations, that's pretty, I don't want to say locked in, but that's going to be really, really close. I think the general elements of the renderings from the middle school are very close, in that what you see is from the top access of that hill, it essentially looks like a single-story building, but it essentially has 2 in an exposed basement format, which means that in any level you're at, you're technically at ground level. And then I think what we're pretty passionate about is there's some intentionality, and myself not the best designer by any means, but there's an intentionality to the use of certain earth tones and balance of brick, stone, glass, those types of things to make sure that it reflects our community. It reflects this kind of rural, but a little bit of more modern day connectedness. And then also there's an intentional timelessness to the design. We didn't want to design something that would be like, oh, that's really cool in 2026, and then 15 years from now, it's like, what were they thinking, right? Like rolled jeans or something. Yes. We don't want to roll jeans. Yeah. So anyway, so there's some intentionality to that, but yeah, generally speaking, there's a lot of the elements. I think when you look at the nuts and bolts, I mean, this is going to be, it's going to have everything we need for art, for music, for the sciences, for an ag program. It's going to have a greenhouse. It's going to have a basic gymnasium that a middle school would have. It's going to have a smaller middle school appropriate auditorium for performances, which a middle school would have. It's going to have a fabrication lab for technical education, which a middle school would have. So it's going to have all those elements, certain exact landing spots or reference points. Those types of things will evolve. But there's definitely elements that you can take away from this, and then you're going to see when it comes to fruition.
Not only with the advantage of providing quality educational space, but there's also a lot of green space there that the community will be able to take advantage of, probably outside of educational and learning environments.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. So the property itself that the district has is 60 acres. Again, it's immediately adjacent to a subdivision. And there's a lot of green space. There's going to be a lot of leveled green space on the north side of that property that we're going to be able to work with the city, youth organizations, et cetera, to make sure that we're helping support these other experiences for our students and for kids in the community. And if folks are familiar, and most of them are, what we have in our community, we've got a lot of nice things. Or we have some nice things, but we are a little truncated on some space where those things are actually appropriately maybe developed for kids to be able to access it. So this particular referendum doesn't finish out any of those spaces per se. What it does is it creates basically grade level ready spaces for us to work with if there's an interest in a youth group or these other organizations partnering to do that. But that's not what we're asking the taxpayers for help for.
No, Mark, one of those things that's kind of a sidebar, if this goes through and the voters approve and it ends up on the south side, I mean, the economic impact on that side of town, I mean, would you anticipate seeing maybe a spur in growth on that side of town, both, commercially and, residentially here? Because obviously now you look at a lot of growth on the north side of Beaver Dam right now. Maybe even pushing to my directions are weird to the west, east a little bit, but on the south side, it's one of those things where you see a little bit of residential stuff there. But would have any numbers shown that a middle school over there may help spur some commercial type of growth on that side of the city?
Yeah. So what happens is when a school something like this goes in, what happens is there's infrastructure associated with that. So having more infrastructure or the infrastructure bolstered there definitely provides opportunities that may not have been there. It's hard to exactly predict what could happen, but if you look at the outline of the city, and I know the city officials can speak to this a lot better than I can, but if you look at the map and kind of the pathways moving forward, generally speaking, the north side of the city and where we've seen the additions, and you guys covered the addition of some larger annexations that took place on the north side for some development, et cetera. What we're seeing is that commercial or industrial development on the north side, okay? So by having a school like this on the south side and knowing that the projection then for residential housing, particularly single family, is on the east and south side of the city, this just marries well with the energy associated with that. And there are a number of what they call infill opportunities along or on the inside of 151, and we also have some other opportunities potentially for some additional growth and development of houses in that what they call kind of the Apple Valley, which is essentially, I believe, off of South Center Street, which is very close as the crow flies, probably 600 yards, probably 800 yards, half a mile from where a new middle school would go. So there are some opportunities there. What the timing of those, it's always hard to predict. But when we see housing development right now, it's trending east and south. And when we see industrial, commercial, and maybe some other multifamily housing like apartments, we're seeing those more on the north side. So there is a nice marriage or kind of coupling of energy. And certainly these types of things definitely help. They help a community grow positively. They help a community grow with a kind of an energy of optimism, and we think with some of the other exciting things that are probably coming down the pike in Beaver Dam in the coming years, this just fits really, really well.
Exactly. Again, Mark, if people have any questions, obviously when you go to the polls and you vote in a couple of weeks, you have any questions? You've always had an open door. You always answer your phone, return emails, and return phone calls. If people have any question, even if you think it's if you read it on the intraweb, if you read it on social media, as opposed to just letting things kind of snowball there, ask people involved in it what the answers are.
Yeah, I mean, we are honored when people reach out and ask us questions. We're honored when we've had people stop by at TSC. Hey, is Mark around, or can I talk to somebody if you got a question? But when we get calls or people reach out, that means a lot. And we really think here in our community and our community's values that's how we operate. We have conversations. So I know that there's some, post questions and appreciate people adding accurate context when they're able to different things out there. But if people have questions, please ask. We know everybody has an individual choice to make. we know everybody's reality is different, but we know that this is a true and significant need, and we're hopeful that people are at least at minimum getting as much accurate information as possible before they make a decision. So you can call me directly. My extension's 1001, or you can send me an email, or you can get a hold of somebody else in the schools. And if you ask them and they don't know, they'll either pass the information on to me, or they'll ask me and I'll get them the information. But we just want to make sure people are accurately informed.
Excellent. Again, there are plenty of different ways to do that, and you still have a few weeks left to answer any questions that you may have. Again, I encourage you to check out the website if you're looking for information, because there's a lot of stuff there, Mark. As we head down the home stretch of this month's show, you mentioned terms getting over here, not that far away, and anything else going on you want to mention going on with the school district right now, because it's a fun time.
Oh, it's a great time, and just real quickly, because the next time we talk will be more in the heart, or approaching the heart of holiday season. We have a lot of outreach and supports in our schools. Our PPS staff does a wonderful job. Pupil services, so think of like counselors, social workers, etc. But as we get into the holiday season, we get into November in particular. If you're aware of something with a neighbor or somebody where they might need help or assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to be a partner in that, and that context can help us better serve kids and better serve families. And we've got a very generous and giving community, so don't hesitate, like I said, to reach out. We want to be part of that effort and taking care of people and making sure everybody's needs are met. And then, the last thing, and I think a show earlier, Tracy Probst was on, and she always does just such a wonderful job of celebrating Beaver Dam. And I just want to remind people to make sure you're doing that. Celebrate Beaver Dam, celebrate the Beaver Dam area, celebrate Dodge County. There's a lot of great stuff going on. It's a great place to live and raise a family, and as many positive vibes as we can share with one another as we work through this election season and then move into the holidays. I think the better off we're all going to be.
And Mark, I mentioned football tomorrow night. Beaver Dam going to Port Washington. Daily Dodge. We want as many people proud of what we do at Daily Dodge TV, but I would be proud if our numbers were down a little bit, because everybody made the trip over to Port Washington. Because Port Washington, quite honestly, they want to defend their house, because Beaver Dam, Watertown are kind of like the outsiders coming in. They're the defending champs, and it's going to be a wild, raucous environment over there. And Beaver Dam needs their fans coming over there to make some noise and back the Beavers.
I had the fortune of playing there when I was in high school. And they do have they're Pirates. That's their, and there's a little bit of that mentality. So representation's good. I would say this though, I would love to see parents driving their teenage children and going with them. Spend some time with your kid. Take them and a couple of people and take that drive on 33 out to Port Washington. It's a neat community to visit. But I'd love to see as many adults driving with the kids too. And a lot of our kids, they're great. A lot of our kids are good drivers. I'm not saying that, but having the adults there is a positive thing too for our kids. And I really don't want to hear about a carpool of 7 kids, on 33 and anything happening either. No. So good driving. Everybody drive safe. Make sure that parents get out there. Or, even if somebody, your kid doesn't have to be playing. But it'd be really nice to show out in Beaver Dam at the Port Washington game.
Get east of West Bend, and the leaves will look great. I'd never been east of West Bend Lakes Golf Course until a cross country meet a couple weeks back.
Okay.
It was in beautiful area over there. I had no idea.
You drove through Newburgh and Saukville.
Yes, and it was great. So again, get over there if you can. Otherwise, we will have it on Daily Dodge TV in 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. Mark DiStefano, Superintendent of the Beaver Dam Unified School District. Again, thank you so much for coming in and sharing what's going on in the district.
All right, thank you so much, Wade. Take care.
You have been watching and viewing Let's Talk with Beaver Dam Unified School District Superintendent Mark DiStefano on Daily Dodge TV and 95.3 WBEV.